All right, welcome back. Following the clarification by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, about the discrepancies in the disbursement of student loans, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFUND, has stated that it remains open for scrutiny and also affirmed commitment to transparency and accountability.
Very true. The Ministry of Education, in a statement from the Director of Press and Public Relations, however, announced in a statement that an urgent meeting had been scheduled for May 6, 2025 with the vice-chancellors of the affected universities and the manager director of NELFUND.
This action follows a recent media report alleging that no fewer than 51 tertiary institutions were involved in illegal deductions and exploitation related to the NELFUND scheme.
The institutions allegedly made unauthorized deductions ranging from 3,500 to 30,000 naira from each student. Institutional fees received through the loan fund. Preliminary findings revealed a significant gap in the financial records of the disbursement process, while the federal government reportedly released 100 billion naira for the scheme. Only 28.8 billion naira was disbursed to students, leaving a whopping 71.2 billion naira unaccounted for.
Meanwhile, human rights lawyer and activist Deji Adeyanju urged ICPC to stop acting powerless against looters in power and arrest government officials behind the reportedly missing 71.2 billion naira.
Wow, that's a very big one, Jane. Well, let's get talking. We still have with us Pastor Fansofeli. Thank you so very much, Pastor, for hanging around. But let's get into the crux of the matter here. NELFUND had come up to say what has been reported is actually false. That the 71.2 billion naira wasn't actually a NELFUND disbursed money. It was before NELFUND. Now, how do we make up with this, knowing that the NELFUND is saying this is not true? Nigerians, of course, were very so into negativity. Who do we...
Yeah, but it was reported in the news. It was from the news that Nigerians got the information. And I know that journalists don't manufacture news. They also have gone into inquiries to get this information. And whether it's true or not, first, they should audit the account of NELFUND. Okay, get auditors to do forensic audit of it to know where truly they stand, because what they have disbursed so far is what was stated, and what is left is over 70 billion plus. Okay, that's what is supposed to be on ground, but that money is vanished because from the report. Okay, this boils down to the same corruption. We're talking about the educational sector, how you need to give students loans so that they'll be able to meet up with school demands and the rest of that, because the country is hard. Part of the negotiation strategy or arsenals put forth by the federal government to arrive at labor 77,000 was the NELFUND. They're going to take off burdens from parents and all that. So many things is hang on that money. So if we are not hearing that only 21 billion from the 100 and something or 100 billion that was released has been disbursed, and you now have so much left, and that one that is left is gone, people will call for inquiries, and people will call for prosecution of. So the call that they should arrest them, investigate those who are in charge and involved, is very critical. Okay, ICPC must do its job. It must swing into action immediately. Okay, they have the forensic accountants, they have all the investigative, whatever it is they want to do. They should go into proper, because this is one of the ways to kill policies and projects in Nigeria. We've had a lot of projects that died like this. Okay, we had the one investigation on the fuel subsidy. Farouk Lawan. That was how that one crashed on corruption. Then we also had so many other issues on the health sector, on the education sector, aviation. Recently, a minister went and entered into some very fraudulent, painted jet turn around and say it was Nigerian air and the rest of that. The corruption is just too much. And we had other fraud here and there. Okay? So why would politicians or why would people come together to soil a policy as well seated as NELFUND? Why? A policy that is supposed to lead to national growth, that is supposed to be an investment, a rare investment in the lives of the citizens. We said it before that a country's outlook, the way a country looks is as a result of the investment of the country on its citizens. Okay? When a country invests in its citizens, it will reflect. The citizen will not want to leave the country. They will stay back and contribute their quota to the development of the country. NELFUND is just one of so many other things government would have done. Okay? Make provision. If this had succeeded, you create one for secondary school. If that one succeeds, you create one for lower school. And then you now have a system where the education of citizens of a state can be taken care of without necessarily bothering their parents who are not earning much and all that. It's a good idea. But why that idea was being hashed, corruption was moving alongside and watching and looking at this one. I will swallow this one in minutes. And that is where we are now. Before you know it, they will start a probe. Before you know it, they'll set up a committee. That committee will be cancelled. They'll set up another one. The committee will now be bribed from part of that money. Because that money is somewhere. Yeah. Before you know it, the committee will now be taken from that money. And before you know, everything is scattered. Another government will now come in and cancel the whole of that NELFUND. And now start again.
Which is, I mean, I don't know what you make of the fact that we blame the government for not implementing policies that will benefit the citizens. But when they do, this happens.
Yes. Because even when government want to implement it, the human capital they want to use, they are not going to import them from anywhere. It's still the same Nigerians who will go and soil the whole thing. The one that Keyamo did then when he was a Minister for Labour for State, it was supposed to be 26,000 naira before. How many? Yes. 260 something persons or whatever it is. How well did that go? For a period of time, they are going to end that one as employment, whatever. What happened? People started fixing names of people who do not even merit it. At the end of the day, those who collect the money are still the same people who ordinarily can survive without the money. Then those who actually needed it will not get it. That is it. Better I do the same thing. The woman that was feeding children during the lockdown, that one said the same thing. So anytime government creates social welfare, okay, or social support system, it doesn't performance level for even the school feeding program is how many percent? They just brought it back now. The school feeding program. How many percent of the performance level? That a country cannot feed children is a disgrace. It's the whole country. How many children do we have across the country? There are public school children that are talking about, not like
private school.
How many children are attending public school?
In fact, you need to say the kind of food.
Then the kind of food they to give them, they were also supposed to use to encourage agriculture because the food was to be grown. Yes. The eggs were to be, from
to be a value chain.
A value chain, yes. We've lost all that now. This revival, is this tied to agriculture on Boko Haram? This one now, are the farmers able to go to their farms to produce enough to feed the children? Or are we going to start, is the government now going to be importing or buying from whoever to make that program run? Because the government is insisting in making that program run, but the government is not insisting in terminating insecurity. And that program's progress is tied to insecurity because of the farmers. So you see how lopsided we think. You want to continue the program, you don't want to terminate the only force militating against the program. So yes. How are you going to go about it?
Very true. But at this particular point, we can't say, of course, when you read the story, lots of people have exempted President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in all of the mix. But we cannot exempt him because he is the supervisor of everyone he has brought on board on this particular matter. During President Muhammad Buhari, the catchphrase then was, I was not aware of anything that happened. So can Bola Ahmed Tinubu equally say he is equally not aware of this particular thing happening? Or should we totally exempt him from this case and just face NELFUND and ICPC taking the
ICPC is the one, it's not the president that will go and investigate it. It's the ICPC, that's their mandate, because it falls under, it was civil servant that were managing the funds. If it were not civil servant, the EFCC will come up. We got the EFCC for general socio-economic crimes, okay, outside, within an outside government. But ICPC specifically for civil servants, okay, they are the ones that money was released to.
But how about the Edu case? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually came into the mix and suspended.
He came in as a minister now, as a president who appointed a minister.
Oh,
you understand? Even the chairperson of the NELFUND was appointed by the president too. But what I'm saying is that it is not so much of the president's immediate, because ICPC is there to take on whoever is guilty or whoever is in custody of that money that did not disburse it properly. You know, because I mean, how many percent of students got that money?
I was going to go there because there's this controversy about some students not being aware of the disbursement. They still went ahead to pay fees. They were still requesting that they pay tuition.
Yes.
So, I mean, the corruption is not even about the fact that some amount of money was, you know, accrued to this, I mean, for what is intended for. It's the fact that even those ones that were disbursed didn't get to the right source.
Now, talking about multiplicity of corruption in this particular case, we have it from the report there that universities were actually deducting between 3,500 and 30,000 naira for each beneficiary on that particular case. Now, we were discussing it yes, and we were talking, it's possible, like the Nigerian police would do, they do not have fuel to power their generator to run their stations, and they assign their personals to go and arrest people and get money. So don't you think universities also might be playing that book?
That's very wrong. What the police are doing is wrong. And if the university go into that's very low for me, because they do not have any right to take any money from whatever, deduct any money. It's not part of the arrangement. It's not part of the structure. They don't have to do that.
So even if for official matters, the person is supposed to ensure that
miscellaneous
No, the universities have ways of generating funds for all those things. Remember, the universities are not wholesomely autonomous, but there are a lot of things that they give them autonomy for. You understand? I used to be in the SUGS school, so I will tell you what the universities have. You see all those people who sell things in the school. You see all these programs the school run, like diploma, sandwich, had all those executive courses, and all those pre-degree and all that. The school, those funds is for the school. The school use those funds to take care of miscellaneous, all those things. They won't buy vehicles. It's not every time that they have to approve funds from the National Assembly Committee on Higher Education, or from the commission that oversees university. Okay, so there are a lot of things where they can generate money from, and not for even those ones that do post-jam and all those things. All those funds, they don't take the post-jam to go and give government. The school will use it to run its, so there's enough money in the university system that, so if they are collecting or deducting anything, it's wrong and it's criminal. So those VCs of those schools who did that must be held accountable for whatever money they are collecting from deducting from whatever it is they are doing. We should allow policies to work in Nigeria. It's even, Nigeria is so complex that it is not just about coming up with a policy, but it's harder to even make the policy workable. even when the environment is ripe and ready for the policy to thrive, people will go and look for a way to turn it around. Okay? Turn it around and make sure that they get kickback and so many disgusting things. So I think we should do away with this behavior of
talking about the students' union. You were part of it, when you were in school. I don't know if this union still functions, as it were, because during time past, we usually have them come out to expose the corruption that's happens in all of these institutions. What is accrued to the students not reaching them is not what used to be obtainable.
Yeah, those were during the days of, I don't know if you've had during the days of Agada Agada. Those were those days when student unionism was really.
I don't know if they still have power.
There's no power again because there's serious corruption even in SUG, in student union government. Big corruption. I was part of it, so I can tell you the level of. We were talking about Sheyi Tinubu yesterday and the NAS president. And when the NAS president is talking now, talking about how he was offered 100 billion, the Link College has been beaten up and all that and all that. It's part of the corruption. I remember then in school, we were just there on our own trying to make ends meet, to put administration together to make things easy for students. You'll just be doing that. The next thing you just hear is that the governor has invited some students. The next thing you see that the governor released 3 cars to students for their operations. The next thing you see, governor is asking students to mobilize for political rally. You just be hearing things, and you just discover that.
Things suddenly change.
Yeah, you just discover that the SUG that's supposed to be a body that should administer for student welfare have turned into a political group. They are now fighting opponents, cultism will come in. So many things will just happen at the same time. You'll be wondering. Okay, so that too have been soiled. Because in those days, when you are early in school, 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, when you are doing general studies, a lot of Marxism are taught at that level. So at 200-300 level, you are radicalized already. You start to see life in a different way.
You are immune.
You are radicalized. You start to see things should be right. Karl Marx, Aristotle. You start to quote and quote and quote. You want things to be right. You will be there. Once you enter SUG, they will come and infiltrate you. Politicians will infiltrate everything, and they will make sure they reduce you to one of them. And so students, in some schools, they don't even have SUG. Likes or Unilag and all that, they suspended it. Yeah, because they turn it to cultism, they turn it to so many things will happen under the watch of these young ones. That thing is supposed to be their first entrance into leadership.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
But it has been messed up. It's no longer the way it used to be before.
Because we've had records of some governors who started their political ambitions.
Yeah, it's always the entry point is always
leadership,
unionism and all, and before you know it, they get to the helms of affairs. But Boris, I'd love you to take us on this particular matter. There's politics is local, and it's very important that we domesticate even whatever policies that we intend to allow in our country. I don't know if this is a good juxtaposition actually. Most times I actually love to do it. Nigeria versus the United States, where student loan, it's where I would love to believe Bola Ahmed Tinubu copied from and say, okay, let's have it also in Nigeria. But given the rate of student debt in the United States, lots of people who graduated from school for 30 years still can't pay their student debt. Right? Now the question is, knowing that policies are domestic in nature, do you even think that the student loan scheme in Nigeria is even the best bet?
Well, as long as the government says it cannot give grants, because remember in the United States, you have loan, you have grants. The one that is tied to scholarship. As long as the government is complaining they cannot do that, then they should be able to create something. And that is the student loan. But the difference between ours and that of the United States is that the United States, the system can track you for repayment wherever you are. The system can actually track you to make your repayment. I mean, Obama finished paying in 2004. That's when he finished paying his own loan. Became a lawyer, became a lecturer at University of Illinois, a constitutional law lecturer. was not still able to pay back fully until 2004. But you see what he became as a person because of the system.
Well, yes.
If he were to be born in a system where that opportunity is not there, he wouldn't have gone to any school. He wouldn't have become he wouldn't have influenced the world as he did. Okay, so looking at the positive side, some persons would have dropped out of school if not for a loan like that.
That's over there.
No, even here.
Here.
If truly, hold on. No, if truly it went to the right source, because we're even hearing that 28%.
They don't get to.
Did not even get to students. It might be some of these people sitting somewhere under the whatever, the ones that got the money. They used to smoke in their head. You understand? So that's the porousness of the whole thing. So our whole system is really convoluted. But what I'm saying is that, assuming but not considering it, it got to the right people.
Okay.
The right people, I mean, people who ordinarily wouldn't have been able to pay that tuition if it were not for that fund.
Okay.
Then it made value, it made impact. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So as much as you, but that of the United States, the system is so structured that when you are done, you get a job. That's the difference between here and there. Here, when you are done, there's no guarantee you get a job to pay back. So what exactly is government doing to enable them to give us an enabling environment such that when these students are done, they will be able to get a job and they will be able to pay back?
Well, Barrister, a beneficiary I interrogated actually said that he is very so sure, he's positive that this student loan is a grant. The reason he gave was that when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu comes and he goes, that he is sure that the next government would forget it.
But that's the truth. But that's the truth. It's a grant. You know why I say so?
Yes.
Because you remember during the first tenure of Buhari, when Osibajo was going about for the second term, giving market money.
Yes, market money.
You know that was a loan.
Yes, yes.
You remember it was a loan.
Yes.
It was supposed to be a loan.
Yes.
You understand? But when you show a PVC, you've already told them that you are selling vote, you are buying vote. When you are asking them to show PVC before they can get it, okay, you have given them a clue that it is buying and selling. It is purchase. You're giving them a clue. So many of them, the federal government made an attempt to get back the loan. Many of them fled up and they were angry. Yeah. Now, why should they pay back? And the money was so small that 10,000, 20,000, they will not pay it. So they will not even pay it. Many of them will prefer to use it to start another business or to do something. They just feel that for the first time, okay, the commonwealth of the country came to them. Now that the Tinubu government have ended, the Buhari government have ended, the Tinubu government didn't even say anything about it.
Very true.
Whether to retrieve it or to re-establish it. The only thing they want to re-establish is the school feeding program. Nobody's talking about because even the party knew that what they did was to buy votes indirectly. Okay? So this one now that is on NELFUND now, the guy is right. Yeah. Another government may come up tomorrow and say what is NELFUND and
that tells us the level of continuity that we have, especially with good government policies.
Because you see, the NELFUND itself, I am not sure that did it go through the National Assembly?
It did.
It went it went through the National Assembly. There's an act for it. Yeah, there's an act. So if you have an act, there's a possibility of continuity.
Oh, okay.
If you have an act and you now have an institution. But don't forget too, we have many institutions in Nigeria, like the National Orientation and whatever this thing. It's still there, but they are not doing anything. It's moribund. So these two can be turned to something like that. There are many of them, okay, that are statutory bodies that are not doing anything, and they have no budget, they have nothing. Even if they submit, they don't give them any budget for anything. So this can also be turned to that. So whether it came through law or by policy or by whatever it is, it can also be discarded. That's what I mean.
Very, very true. And this actually reminds me, someone who qualified for the U-Win program, 10 million naira, with good luck, Billy Jonathan. Yes, and at some point they created a hub where there were people who mastered the art of application of some of these things. So you pay them, and help you, do such
application.
applications, and that was how it all went. And that was why I was asking a barrister if really we needed the loan itself, because every successive administration come and they cancel it, they start DS again, and that money is gone. So why not just invest it in the educational sector? Encourage jet clubs or encourage people to invent something, whatever, I do not know, but hubs and the CC hub in Yaba. Imagine having that hub in every university.
What the government would have
putting that
done,
money into that particular sector.
What the government would have done is to liaise with the universities and take down tuition.
Take down tuition.
I think
don't give anybody any loan.
That works.
Take down tuition, then send the money to those schools. Don't give anybody any loan, or just empower the school, fund them enough so that they will not need that tuition.
Exactly.
Then let the people now, go to school free of charge.
I think if you ask me, what will work is just what you just said, because some of us paid 2,000 naira for school.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
School fee, and then as we know the level of class that our parents were then, and were able to go to the university.
So which means someone was actually bankrolling that and making it possible
it was
students.
Just 2,000 naira. How much do we pay for hostel and all that? But today, what do we have? It's really telling on parents,
very true.
General masses and all that. So the average class, the lower class, are not able to send their children to school. That's why we have a lot of students, a lot of school children who should be in school, roaming around the streets, abusing substance and all of it. So we know what to do, I think, if you ask me.
All right, that's just about the time we have for today. I would have wished that we talk some more. We didn't cascade to the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. We're just talking about the tertiary institutions. We're not talking about number of out-of-school children in primary schools that are not in school. From 20 million to 23 million in less than 20 months is actually very bad. And the question is, if we have 23 million out-of-school children already, that tells what it would be like, from the secondary to the tertiary institution. So it's a whole, complex issue that we would not have enough time to talk about, but we just have to rest it at this particular point. Thank you so very much, Barrister.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we do appreciate you. Jane.
Right, I think, that will be all for today. I will also say that if you do the right thing and I do the right thing and we collectively do the right thing, they will make the world a better place for all of us. Tomorrow again, we take center stage. It's been good hanging out with you and Henry.
Yes, all right, that's just the time we have, just like she said. And please do well to visit us if you may. You can read up on everything we'll have talked about today. When you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com, you may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm Henry Ibidike.
And I am Jane. I know.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.